Okay. Hello, everybody. Um, Welcome. It's um, a little bit after the time to start, and it looks like there is a good number of people here. So I know sometimes it takes a minute um, to get logged in and everything to the platform. Um, so we can wait just a little bit and see if um, more people join before we get started. Yes, good afternoon. It's I'm in the United States. I'm in New York City, so it's actually quite early in the morning for me. But I'm happy to be here with all of you um, and to share a little bit about JSTOR. Um, if you want, looks like my camera's freezing just a little bit. Hopefully, we're not going to have any technical problems. Um, One thing that I'm going to talk about is the different subjects that are covered on JSTOR and the different types of content we have. So if you want to put in the chat what your field of study is, that might help. I can, when we do some examples later, it might I might be able to focus on some things that are relevant to the audience here. Uh, I see management. Great, great. Science education. Ah, okay. Linguistics. I studied linguistics, so that's something that's familiar to me, or sciences. Amazing. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started then. I'm going to agriculture, plant sciences. Oh, excellent. History, HR, environmental science. Wonderful. I'm glad to see so many different fields of study here. That's excellent. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Um, I'm not going to be able to um, see questions very well if you put questions in the chat. I'll try if when I share my screen, they'll pop up and I can see them quickly, but so I'll try to keep up with those. But if I miss a question, don't worry, I'll come back at the end and look at all the questions and we can make sure everybody's questions get answered. Okay, just moving some things around here. All right, so this is JSTOR. Um, uh, just to give you a sense of the content that is on JSTOR, I'm going to come over to the browse uh, icon here and go down to subject journals and books. Oh, actually, real quick, let me just, okay, we are recording. Recording is in progress. So this is being recorded and we'll be able to share this out later. But this kind of gives you an idea of all of the subject areas that are covered. So there's area studies, Middle East studies, British studies, arts and architecture, music, performing arts, business. I'm not going to be able to name everything here, but you get the idea. History, language, literature, religion, museum studies, film studies, health sciences, public health, geology, astronomy, library science, linguistics. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, and a lot of this is um, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, right? So I saw somebody mention water studies or something similar to that. So, we might not have that listed specifically, but we have geology, which would cover that, and environmental science, which would cover that, and environmental studies. So, there's a lot of these subject areas cover more territory um, than they than just is what's at the surface here. So that's just to give you a sense of what's on here. Now,
طبعا 100% حاضر من عيوني.
تمام.
لا هي عادة 1000.
هو أنا شفت شيء غلط فقلت ما أعرف يمكن أنتم مغيرين أسعاركم فقلت
هي لا مش هي 1000 هي بتكون 100 بتكون ما هي 1000 10% 10% بتكون 100.
بس تأكدي لي بس شوفي أنا وصلته بالمسج.
حاضر هلا بنتبه لها هلا بشوف لها وبركز. حاضر ولا
تمام.
اوكي
اوكي
هلا
اوكي شكرا
هلا
everything okay? All right. Okay, so now in terms of the types of content that we have on JSTOR, so this is about the subject areas. Most of the content is falls into one of three categories. So it would be a journal. So we have about 3,000 journals on the platform. There are also ebooks, and we have over 100,000 ebooks, and some of them you will have access to, some of them you might not, but you should have access to at least 15,000 ebooks. And then there are primary source content, and you would have access to all of the primary sources also. And I'll go into more detail about what the primary sources are in a little bit. But for example, if we come here, see what kind of content there is in music, there are 74 journals that cover music. There's the Journal of 19th Century Music, which was published 1977 to 2022. American Music Teacher, which would be about music education. So there's a bunch of different journals here. So this gives you an idea of what there is here for journals. And then for books, these are the books on music. This one is in German, it appears. So we do even have content that's not, most of it is in English, but not all of it. There's another open access book on music. And then we do have some research reports that would be just like a single paper. It's not part of a journal, but it's just one research paper. So that's the type of content. Okay, so that's what's available on JSTOR, right? And like I said, there are primary source collections, and we'll kind of go more, I'll talk more about those more in depth towards the end of the preservation. Okay, so now let's talk about how to get started with a search on JSTOR. I'm sure most of you have used JSTOR before, so you probably have some experience with it. The first thing that I want to point out is up here in the center, right here. For me, it says access provided by JSTOR. That's because I work at JSTOR and JSTOR provides my access. For you all, it should say access provided by Sultan Qaboos University. And that's how you know that you currently have access. If it says something else there, it might say log in through your institution or something like that. If you're if you're trying to access at home or off campus, then you might need to log in, take that extra step to log in there. But that's the most important thing to notice when you open up JSTOR. Okay. Now on the on the page here, this is just JSTOR.org, the home page. You will see the search bar. So this is what we call the basic search. So you can start a basic search here. Let's see. I usually let's see. We can go through a few examples, but first, let's start with climate justice. Okay, so this is giving us a ton of results, 298,169 results. If I come down to the left-hand side, it kind of breaks down what those results are. So 136,091 are from journals, 104,000 from book chapters, 8,788 from research reports, and then these are the primary sources down here. So that gives you just an idea of the volume of content that we have. And then it'll sort them by default by relevance. So the algorithm will decide which ones it thinks are most relevant to your climate search. Now, to be clear, this is a keyword search, so it's looking for these words in the text of an article or a book chapter, right? And so then it will order these ranked by how often those words appear. So this is the article that had those words the most, and it shouldn't be a surprise that the article is called Climate Change Justice. Now this is from, this is the author. The author will appear here, Matthias Frisch, and this is the journal that it's from, Philosophy and Public Affairs, Volume 4, Number 30, and it was published in 2012. Then it'll give you a little bit of an excerpt here to help you look over and see if this is something you want to look at, or maybe it's not relevant to your article. Okay, now if you want to download it and look at it later, you can. Over here, there's a little download button. You can push that download button and it will download a PDF. You can save that onto your device and read it later, or you can click into the article. So let's click into the article here. Okay, now you'll see this not available with the research tool. We're going to talk about the research tool a little bit later, but don't don't worry about that right now. Okay, so this article, again, here's the information about the article up here. We already talked about that. And you can see the download button again here if you wanted to download it. If you need an accessible PDF, if you are visually impaired or have another disability, and the PDF as it appears here is not accessible for you, then you can use this button to request an accessible PDF, and we'll be able to provide that for you. Okay. Then there's this button called Save. If you save it, it will save it into your personal workspace. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. Right now, I just want to tell you what all of the different buttons here mean. Now, this one, if you decided that you did want to use this article for a research paper that you were working on, click this and it will automatically create citations for you in MLA, Chicago, and APA format. So you can copy those and paste them to wherever you're keeping track of your references, or if you use one of these programs to track references, you can also just click that and it will export it automatically. Okay, so now let's look at the article. So you can scroll within the article. Oops, I scrolled a little too fast. You can use these buttons to zoom in or out. Um, you can use this if you want to select specific text within the article, um, like this, right? So then you could copy the text. Um, if I saw this global average temperature and I thought, oh, that sounds really interesting. I just want to do a search on that. Then you could come up here and click search JSTOR, and it will do a search on JSTOR for those terms that you highlighted. Okay. Now, and if you wanted to search inside the document, you could do that here. Let's see if this document says anything about agriculture. No results. Um, how about um, water? Hmm, also no results. Let's find something that it would talk about. Oh, maybe move out of that mode. Treaty. It does talk about treaties. Policy. Very good one. Okay, let's try policy. Here we go. 8 results. Excellent. So you can, if you know you're specifically looking for policy, then you can use that and it will take you right here. We're talking about policy instruments that address climate change. Here's policy in a footnote. Policy. So you know that's one feature that can help you quickly find exactly what you are looking for. All right. So now let's come down. So below the text, um, well, let me back up. So you do have, it's a full text, JSTOR is a full text service. So you will have all of let's see, I just got a notification here requesting to start AI assistance. Yeah, let me, okay. Sorry, I thought that would be automatically done when with the recording, but thanks for noticing that. Okay, so it is the full text. That's, you know, you don't just get a few pages, you get the entire article here. All the way, I'll scroll all the way to the bottom. There, so. And then below the article, there's some more information about the issue. So we can see this is published by Wiley. If you wanted to look more into this particular issue, we could. You can just click on that, and it will tell us it's the little description of the journal itself, and then we could go to the issue that we were looking at. Don't remember which one it was, but that doesn't matter. You know how to to do it from there. Below here, it talks about, so this, our original search, remember, was climate justice. So down here, it will tell you how many times those terms appeared on each page, right? So let's see, it looks like page 226, page 229 had 17 results. So if you're looking for something that's more specific, right, this can be very useful because you know, you can quickly say, oh, page 229, that must be a really important page for me. So you could go look at that. You can click on it there and it should have taken us up, yeah, to page 229 up above. And down here, so these are all of the references, all of the footnotes from the article. It keeps them in one place, so you can easily look at them. You don't have to, if you're reading the article, and you come across a footnote, you don't have to skip to the last page every time you want to look at a footnote, if that's how the article is organized. And then down here, there's some related texts. So, if you're starting your research out and you're still looking for resources, this can help you find some similar content that might be helpful for you. And then at the very bottom, the copyright information here. Okay, so that is just an overview of how the page is organized, and what you can do with the article when you find it. Now let's go back to our results. Now, remember we did a basic search, right? So when you do a basic search and you have a very broad category like climate justice, you're going to get a lot of results, just like we did. And it might be a little overwhelming. How can we possibly sort through 298,000 results to find exactly what we want, right? So there are some over on the left side here. If you look at this and you say this is too many, I don't know what to do with this. Over here, there's some useful tools. So first, you can search within results. So we'll stick with the same search that we did when we were searching within the text. And let's do a search for policy. We'll say that's, we're specifically interested in policies related to climate change justice. Okay, so that narrowed it down just a little bit. It's 210,000. Now we can go down, say we really only want journals. Okay, we've narrowed it down a little more. And here you can narrow it by date. So let's say we don't want anything that was published before 2018. Okay, now that helped a lot. Now we're getting somewhere. And then if you wanted to narrow it by subject, I don't think we do for this particular search, but you could. If you were specifically looking for content in a different language, this would help you narrow it down here. So these are all from our search result. These are all of the languages that that are represented. But let's say we're going to stick with English for this one. Okay, so now we've got it down to about 18,000 results. This is a little more manageable. It's better than almost 300,000 results like we had before, right? So let's find another one here. Strengthening national legal frameworks to implement the Paris Agreement. This is from the journal Carbon and Climate. Carbon and Climate Law Review, Volume 12. This was published in 2018. All right. Okay, so what I wanted to show you with this one is now when we look at this article, this box on the right, for the previous one, nothing happened in this box on the right, and that's because JSTOR is a collection of articles that are published by many different publishers. And different publishers have different agreements with how their content can be used. And some publishers have told us that they don't want their content to be used with AI tools. So this is an AI tool. So the last article we were looking at, that publisher is not allowing their content to be used with AI. This publisher, however, is. So that's why this box is working for this one. You can see here where it says AI research tool. I have it on. It's on. And you can turn it off if you don't want to use AI. So you do have the option to turn that off there. Okay, so it'll immediately, the AI tool is immediately going to analyze the article and tell me how this article is related to the search that I did up above. So it says, how is climate justice and policy related to your text? And it gives me a little summary of how it is. It talks about legal rights and climate policies, access to information and justice, mainstreaming climate change. And, you know, for every point it makes, it tells me exactly where in the article I can find that. So if, you know, I'm particularly interested in point 3 about mainstreaming climate change, and click here, and it will take me over here. It will take me straight to page 19 so that I can read that section. All right. So then, so I can use this to quickly decide, is this an article that I want to spend more time with? Do I want to read this article? Do I want to file it away, save it for later? Or should I skip it? Is it not relevant, right? So that's the great thing about this tool. Now, uh, our AI tool does have some limits. So it can work with one text, but it can't uh, you can't ask it to write a paper for you. It won't do that. It will just help you. You can interact with it about the text. So it will help you explore and understand what you're reading, but it's not going to do um, the work of writing for you. Okay. So then down here, if there was something in here that in the AI response that you wanted to use in a paper, you can actually cite the AI tool. Now this is different from citing the article, right? But you can do that. All right. Now, if we wanted to, um, let's see, if you wanted to ask the AI tool something more specific, you can down here in the ask a question bar. So we could say, does this article offer any advice to policymakers? Yes, it says it does. So, and then it will tell us now. Okay, so we got a nice answer there. Now, if we wanted to ask it, what does this article say about I want to say something that it probably doesn't talk about. Maybe it will though, urban planning. Let's see. It's thinking. Okay, so you know, it's going to be honest with you, which is what we want, right? So it's not going to make something up. So it'll say the document does not specifically address urban planning. It focuses on the importance of good climate laws. Um, and but you know, then if if we were looking for information on urban planning in relation to climate laws, then we can use this link and let's try it. So this is where it just takes us back to the search bar, and we could do that search. Okay. All right, now, so we talked about the basic search. We talked about just how to examine the article, what the search results look like, how to narrow down the search results, how to use the AI tool. And now let's talk about how to do an advanced search. Okay, so I want to go back to the home page. So on the home page, this is where we started. We started here in the basic search bar, right? And when I click here, you can point this out just since it showed up, but it'll save your searches for a period of time, so you could go back and do some of those old searches again. But right here above the basic search bar is this option called advanced search. So that's how you get there. So we're going to start with that. Okay. So with an advanced search, you have more more ability to be very, if the citation AI tool is not parallelism. I think I'm not sure I understand your question. It's not the same citation as if you were to cite the article. So if you use the citation in the AI tool, what you're basically saying is I got my information from the AI tool, right? Not from the article. So that's kind of the difference. So I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but we can come back to that. Okay, great. Okay, so here we are at the advanced search. So like I said, this helps you be much more specific in what you're looking for. Okay, so let's stick with the same thing. So we're going to do climate justice, and I'm going to put it in quotation marks because I'm using two words here, climate and justice, but I only want it to search for them together. So I'll use the quotation marks. Here, do we want it to look for these terms in the author field? No, this is not an author. In the title, now if you want to get really specific, you can use title, but that's, you know, not every article uses uses keywords in the title, you know, that are what you're looking for. So this can be a useful tool, but it also can be very restrictive. Abstract will be a little less restrictive, but can also be restrictive. Caption you would use if you're searching specifically for images, right? So let's keep it in all fields for now. And let's stick with our policy option. We'll keep it with all fields. Let's add a row and we'll do another and. Now here with the Boolean operators, you can switch and or not, right? So let's do another and let's say we want urban planning. So we're looking for content that is about climate justice and policy and urban planning. All right, let's submit our search. We got 267 results. That's a pretty good number to work with. There's an article here, Urban Greening as the Ultimate Urban Environment Justice Tragedy. This is by Isabel Angelovsky from the journal Planning Theory. So it looks like we got some really good results back here, actually. I'm happy with those. So bunch of good things. We could, you know, if you were like, yeah, this is exactly what I want, you could check all these little boxes. Come up here, you could save them all. You could cite them. all, it would export them to a text file if you're using, notes or something. So anyway, so now let's go back and see what happens when we switch these Boolean operators a little bit. So let's stick with climate justice and policy. Now let's do or urban planning. And we'll submit our search. Okay, now you'll see we went from 200 and something results all the way up to 71,000 because of this or. We're giving it the option. So we're telling it that we want stuff that's about climate justice and policy or about urban planning. So that's covering a lot more territory. And that's why we got a lot more results. So using the or is going to bring a lot more flexibility into your search if that's what you're looking for. But it's going to make your results much less specific. Okay, now let's see what happens when we switch this to not. So now it's going to search for climate justice and policy, but it's going to exclude content that's about urban planning. For this example, we've already decided that we don't want anything about urban planning. That's not what our research is about, and we're just not interested. Okay, so now we got 4,329 results. Actually, I want to do, I think it might be more interesting if we do this. So climate justice, not policy, and urban planning. Let's see what this does. Okay, so this is only going to give us 17 results because we got very specific. So we're only looking for climate justice that's not about policy, which would actually be quite strange, but is about urban planning. So here we got, critical urban theory and the Anthropocene. This is probably not a very useful search, but I just wanted to show, give an example of how the search results change when you change these operating terms in your search. Okay, let's switch this one back to and. And now, if you want to find words that are close to each other because you think that those words are related or mean something, then you would use these near. So near 5, near 10, near 25. So if we think that urban planning, urban planning and policy are closely related, and we want to find results where they exist within 25 words of each other, that's what this will do. Let's see if we find any results. Nothing. So that was, let's delete this one and let's just try that with this near 25. So we'll look for the term policy within 25 words of the words climate justice. Using a near, oh, a single term, sorry. I can't do it with 2 terms. So what we can do actually is do climate and justice, and we'll make it within 5. All right, so we got 11,133 results. So in this situation, before we were searching for climate justice with quotations around it, so it would only search for the 2 words together, right? But we might have been missing out on some results that way. So this way, climate and justice are still close to each other. So there's still some relation in meaning there, but they don't necessarily have to be right next to each other. So this might give us some more results that we didn't get from before. Okay, so we're got a little less than 20 minutes. What I want to show you now is the JSTOR workspace. Okay, so let's say this is an article that I want to save for later. Then and now, time for eco-justice literacies. So if I come to save, well, it'll say I'm not logged in. I can log in here, or you can go up here, log in. So this is if you have a personal JSTOR account. So you do not have to have a personal JSTOR account in order to access JSTOR. So it's not required. But it gives you some added tools. If you don't have one already, then you can use this button to register and create one. But I have one, so I'm just going to log in with my Google account. Here I am, that's my name. And it says it already saved it to workspace. Okay. So if I come into my workspace, this is my personal workspace where I can save stuff. So yeah, I see you logged in with an SQU account. So in order to access the workspace, you have to be logged in with the SQU account, but then you also have to have your own personal account. So it's just it's an extra step. And like I said, it's not required to have access to JSTOR. But I'll show you what the added benefits are if you do that. So here. And you'll know if you have a personal JSTOR account and you're logged in because you'll see your name here, right? Okay, so if I go to my workspace, all right. So here's a bunch of stuff that I've saved before. Um, and here's one on climate justice that I have already created. This is a whole folder on climate justice. So I saved a bunch of items here before from previous searches. So what this allows you to do is if you do a search, find a bunch of articles that you want to save for later, or just save because you want to keep your projects organized, and you can create a folder in here and save them there. So if we go back to my workspace, to create a new folder, you would just come here to create folder, and you would give it a name and save it. I don't want to create any more folders because I have enough, but that's how you would do that. And then if we go back to that search that we did here, okay, so let's save this one. So if I hit save, it will ask me, oh, where do you want to save it? Now I know that I have a climate justice folder, so I'll click on the climate justice folder and save it there. Then up here, I can click here, and it will take me back to my climate justice folder, and that that article that I just saved will be in here, so I can find it later. Now here you can export. So if you wanted to export all of them, save them all at once into a single PDF, you could do that there. Present is more useful for images. If you had a bunch of images, you could create a slideshow here. You could do it also with an article if you were teaching a class and you wanted to talk specifically about an article. That could be helpful there too. And then over here, you'll see the AI tool appeared. So here, inside the workspace, you can use the AI tool to analyze to analyze multiple articles. So here it would be looking at the articles here in this folder. Like it says, I work with the first 25 items that are journal articles, book chapters, and research reports. So just ask it, can you provide a summary of the articles in this folder? Okay, so there are 6 articles in this folder, and oh, all right. So it had a hard time with that one. But it did give me like a brief overview. It said it can various discussion and participatory events related to climate justice, community engagement, the experience of marginalized communities. So um, uh, yeah, and then if we had specific questions about the content, um, which articles discuss policy? All right, so we got a much more helpful answer here. About which articles in the folder discuss policy. So, okay, so let's go back to the workspace. All right, so yeah, so the workspace is really useful. It's really helpful in terms of organizing your research, saving articles, saving book chapters, um, and using those other tools for presenting your research, citing your research. So I do encourage you to um, register and sign up for a JSTOR, a personal JSTOR account and workspace. Like I said, you don't have to. It's not required to access the content or to do searches to use JSTOR. As long as you have access through your institution, that's fine. But one thing about having a personal JSTOR account is that it will re it will remember for 1 year that you are supposed to have access through SQU, right? So even if you're not logged in through the university, you'll still be able to get access. For example, if you're traveling somewhere or um, uh, you know, I don't know, you're away from home or away from campus and you need to have access, but you can't log in through the university. You can log in personally. It will remember that you're supposed to. Um, um, that's why up here it switched from saying I have access to JSTOR to access from 6 institutions because those are all institutions that I have visited and logged in at. So um, eh, it's a little confusing, but that's why that's there. Okay, really quickly, I want to do just a brief overview of uh, the primary source collections to give you an idea of how those work. So I'm gonna come. This isn't scrolling down. Let me do a search here. Okay. Okay, so you can see we're still on JSTOR.org, but this is specifically about primary sources. So the difference between primary sources and articles and books, which are secondary sources, is that they are um, they are they are the source that you um, uh, they're the original source of the knowledge they are the research item, right? So on JSTOR specifically, when we talk about primary sources, we're specifically talking about things like manuscripts, newspaper articles, letters, plant specimens, things like that. Maps can be considered primary sources. So we do have a broad collection of those. There are three main collections: 19th century British pamphlets, Struggles for Freedom, Southern Africa, and World Heritage Sites, Africa. So if you do a search in JSTOR and one of these items is related, it will come up in the regular search. So you don't have to search specifically for primary sources. But I just want to give you a sense of what they are and what types are on JSTOR. So these are old pamphlets. Um, People who study the British Empire, the history of British colonialism, find this collection to be um, really useful, really helpful. Um, so here's this is a specific collection. Okay, so this is a pamphlet about Jamaica. This is from 1859. And as you can see, this is the original thing. That's what that's why we call it a primary source. Um, so, for somebody who is studying British colonialism in the Caribbean or in Jamaica, this would be a very useful, um, very useful um, uh, text. Okay, so that's that one. And then we do have one. I saw there were some plant people here. Um, uh, JSTOR Global Plants. It's the one primary source collection that's separate from the main JSTOR platform. So it has its own URL here, plants.jstor.org. So if you're specifically looking for plants, you would need to come to um, Global Plants here. And uh, Global Plants is a collection of millions of plant specimens. Um, let's see, I'm not a great plant expert. Um, let's see what happens if we do a search for wheat. I don't know. Oh, nothing. Like I said, I don't. I'm not a plant person. So let's look at browse. Um, so these are the types of specimens that you can find on Global Plants. So this is uh, drawings of the Royal Botanical Expedition to the Viceroyalty of Peru. Um, this is a plant specimen here, so we can view this larger. So that's for those of you who are interested in plants. Um, uh, this might be a really great resource to use here. Okay, now we've got just a few minutes, so I want to look in the chat and see if I missed any questions. And if there are any questions, um, Ms. Huda, thank you for talking about accessing JSTOR. Yeah, if you weren't able to, um, yeah, I was um, hoping you could kind of follow along and access. But if you were having problems getting into JSTOR, yeah, talk to your librarian, and they can help you get logged in. Can we use all feature without having campus access? So you have to be affiliated with the university, which I'm assuming you are if you're if you're in this webinar. Um, uh, no, you can access off campus. I'm not exactly sure you'll need to talk to your librarian about how to do that. One way is with the personal JSTOR account. Um, if you've created a personal JSTOR account and you have previously logged in while you were on campus, then it will remember you moving forward. But you have to be on campus to do that originally. Um, but I think that you should have a way uh, to access off campus, but it varies by institution. So yeah, you'll need to just um, uh, speak to your librarian about that. I can't give you that answer. Um, any certificate. So I am going to send a list of all of the attendees um, to Ms. Huda, and she can uh, um, so she'll know. She'll have a list of everybody. So you'll get credit for being here. Um, any other questions? I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. Um, I, I I will share the recording um, and some other resources so that we do have we have a YouTube channel that has little short tutorials that will go over a lot of the stuff that I've talked about. So you can look there. Okay, yeah, who is answering the question? Okay, so um, if there are, oh, is there one more question? Are there any other upcoming sessions for such interested research-related topics? I think that's a question not for me. I don't, this is the only session that I'm doing, so, um, but all right, thank you all for coming. It was wonderful to be with you today. Yes, you will get the recording, absolutely. And yeah, reach out to your librarian if you have questions. And I'm in touch with Ms. Huda and the library staff at SQU, so we'll make sure that you know if there are still questions that we can get those answered. Um, and enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, um, and uh, I will see you next time. Bye bye.